Children lived without toys for over 200,000 years. And yet now it's unfathomable to think of a house with kids that does not have toys. I'm sure that we've all gotten a glimpse into what a toy-free life with kids is like when we've gone on a vacation or on a camping trip and suddenly you're 5 or 6 days in and you realize, wow, the kids are doing really great and we don't have any toys here. And they're still in their deep imaginative play, probably playing even more independently than at home. Whether it's Prime Day or Black Friday, there are these huge sales that come in and basically entice us and beg us to buy items for ourselves and our children. But in the end of it, are we better for it? And is the earth? I'm Jenny Taylor, a journalist and a gentle parenting advocate. Let's explore these questions today on the very first video of my new channel. This is news to help us grow as parents and people. Please make sure you subscribe. That is how you can show your support to this channel and make sure that you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. When I look back on my childhood, the meaningful memories are not connected to merchandise. I have really warm memories of dancing, singing, rollerblading, skateboarding, climbing trees, writing poetry, pretending to be a detective. That is the play that deeply shaped who I am today. Now, pretty much any book or program on reparenting ourselves or self-improvement is going to ask us to reach into our childhood and remember the type of play we loved to do. Those passions were so pure in most cases that they are the hints to reminding us who we are as adults. But are toys getting in the way of deep, creative, meaningful play for our children? History and research, my own personal experience, probably yours as well, will say yes. So why do we keep buying? We're going to explore this a little bit deeper, and I'm going to share 5 things that I do, prompts I take myself through before I make any purchase for my child. Number 1, we have a general rule in our family that we just wait before we buy. So if we're walking through a toy store and my daughter sees something she likes, or if I see something I want, a piece of clothing, we check in and remind ourselves that it is part of our value system not to consume mindlessly. And we've collected enough evidence now to know that once we sit on thinking about something for a few weeks or a few months, usually we realize that our desire for it is not that deep. Number 2, I ask myself, what specific value am I hoping that this object for my child will bring into our life? And is there another way to be able to bring that value into our life? So a very common driving factor for parents that motivates us to buy is when we think that a toy will bring independent play or educational value. But what research and history actually shows us is that less toys leads to more independent play. And this is true for my home as well. My daughter will play hours a day independently and with relatively very few items out at one given time. There's an interesting research project led by 2 German researchers who were trying to find the correlation between adult addiction and childhood. You know, we talk about root causes here a lot, so trauma plays a huge role in that. But they also tied it into material consumption in childhood. So they had this idea of doing toy-free kindergartens and just observing what would happen if children suddenly had no toys to play with. So this actually became quite popular and many kindergartens adopted this. And so what they do now is they remove all of the toys from the classroom. This includes crayons, pens, pencils, scissors. They remove all of that for 3 months. All they have left is furniture and then a couple of blankets. And what they'll find is that at first the children are, looking a little bit bored. And then suddenly over these 3 months, this very deep, creative, imaginative play is born. Now, as for educational value, this goes back to, remember, children didn't have toys for 200,000 years. Books like the Continuum Concept give us these glimpses into what life looked like when we all had ancestors that lived closer to hunter-gatherer lifestyles. When children were in rich mixed age environments growing up, watching their parents do the work of hunting and gathering while they just played as their parents were doing their work. So just through that free play, that observation, they grew up knowing exactly how to thrive within the community that they lived in. And it's the same for our children. Whatever world they witness, they are going to know how to function in that world if they have a lot of access to the real world. Usually we try to push children into this world that's just for children instead of inviting them into the real world with us, letting them observe it in their own way and play around us as we do our adult-led activities. Number 3, we turn to our values. So Kim John Payne, the author of Simplicity Parenting, he writes about this a lot and talks about, instead of having a child-centered life, having a value-centered life. So your values are this pillar that you always come back to make all of these decisions in your life. And it's the same where whenever you're buying a toy or bringing something in. So if your child is watching a show and they're really into this one character from that show, it can be tempting to bring in merchandised items from that show, t-shirts or toys. But if one of your values is that you want to have long-lasting toys that can be open-ended objects, that can be a boat, a train, a plane, all by being this one thing, and you don't buy fixed object items like merchandise toys, if that's part of your value system, you don't have to worry about every single show they watch bringing in a new merchandise item from that show. You can enjoy the show, but you won't bring any material items into the home from it. Also, one of our values is to be able to reflect on what the imprint of this on the earth is. We're not perfect at this by any means. So like I cringe when I see balloons, but my daughter was just gifted some balloons for her birthday and she loved them and she had a great time with them. And I'm not gonna like pop them and be the balloon Grinch. But when we are purchasing something, we do go back to that value system of, you know, what is the imprint of this on the earth? And do we need this? Would it be healthier for us, our bodies, and the earth to just not consume this product? So figure out and be clear on what your value systems are and have those open conversations with your children. So when anyone wants something, you check back in with that value system before you purchase it. Number 4, where will this go? And what will the management of this item look like? So if you've read any books on minimalism or listen to any podcasts, you'll hear a theme that comes up a lot, and that is to remind ourselves that we pay for all of our items twice, once with our money and another time with our time. So whenever you're bringing something into your life, you're going to continuously pay for that with the amount of time it takes to manage that item or think about that item or have it clutter your home and bring you any stress. So you really have to sit with that for a little while before you fill your cart up and purchase a bunch of things. Where will each one of these items live? So I want to know what the home for the storage of it will be before the item comes into my home, or else I know it's just going to cause me more stress. And then we also get rid of something before we bring a new object in. And the last thing I ask myself is, am I stifling play by adding this item in? Like, what is my assumption here of assuming that this is going to be better for her than what she's already come up with? So I'll give you one example. These sticks my daughter found at a park, and she has a bunch of them now. She has like 11 of them, and she keeps them in a little basket, and she thinks they look like woodpeckers. So she plays these woodpecker games with them. But then sometimes in the woodpecker game, they'll just suddenly become a pteranodon or another animal or a person. So these shape shift for her, and she plays these really deep imaginative skits out with them all the time. She's also done that before she had these sticks or found these sticks with measuring spoons, and these are characters for her. And she plays out different characters. It's the mom and the dad and the baby or the cousin. They shape shift. They can be anything she wants. These have also turned into animals. And we also use these in the pool for her to retrieve. So she likes them when we throw them down to the bottom of the stairs and she can retrieve them. And there are measuring spoons too. So they have all of these uses. This is such an open-ended toy, and they already lived in my kitchen. Now, I always have to ask myself, sometimes it's tempting when I see her playing with all these things, like, oh, she's really into skits right now. Maybe I should build her a stage and get her all these beautiful wooden characters to play out these objects with, or even those wooden peg dolls that don't have faces. I've thought about getting those. But then I sit with myself and realize, She is so immensely happy with the objects that she herself has decided that these are going to be her characters. They have the lowest imprint on the earth possible because we don't have to buy something new for it to happen, and one of them just exists in nature. So if I was to bring something in like that, then I would just be stifling this play. It's like me looking at this kind of play she's having and saying like, oh, this isn't enough, you know? And I don't want to even reinforce that idea. She's so joyfully happy, immersed in this play. I don't want to start giving this idea that, oh, you know, no, you have to always upgrade to this bigger and better thing. So I'd love to hear from you. What is something that you are thinking of purchasing during Prime Day, or what is something that you think you need, but maybe now after having this conversation you're reflecting on and you think you might not need? I'd love to hear what your process is for managing toys and items inside of your house. I do have an Amazon list that I put together of items that we have consciously brought into our home and that we use and love. I usually will always look for items used first. So we have a learning tower that we really love, which I was able to get used, but I put the same brand of it because we love it on our Amazon cart. There is an item that I am going to recommend for Amazon Prime Day because the sale is so good. It's stasher bags. You guys, these are so good. They have eliminated all single-use plastic bags in our home finally this last year. This is my favorite size. You know, like you can see pretzels are in this. I just grabbed this out of my daughter's lunch. We're about to go to the park. And they don't go on sale frequently, and they're on a pretty super sale right now. So I'll put my links to the stasher bags that I have and my favorites. We have 7 in our home, and I am going to make a purchase during this sale to bring in another kit into our home. So I think that it comes with 5 different sizes because we use them for freezing, for storage, for lunches every day. And then, like I said, I just have a drawer now of these and no more plastic bags. And then you can explore some of the other things that have worked well in our home. And I just wish you a day of conscious shopping or non-shopping. And I hope that we can all get to a place in a society where we feel comfortable consuming a lot less. I know I'm working on it for myself. It's a journey I'm going on. And it looks like if we keep going in this direction, our children will have much different consuming habits than we have had in our lifetime. Please comment below, share this video, and subscribe to the channel so we can stay in touch and keep having these conversations that help us to grow and thrive in our parenting.